Sometimes, the most meaningful moments are not planned. They don't happen on grand stages or under bright spotlights. They happen quietly, in small rooms, between people who already understand each other without words. For Taehyung, that moment came through something simple, not expensive, not flashy, just a gift, given with sincerity, and yet, it was enough to bring him to tears. For fans who witnessed it, the moment felt deeply personal. Not because of what the gift was, but because of what it represented. It reminded everyone watching that behind the global fame, behind the performances and applause, Jungkook and Taehyung are still two people who have shared years of memories, growth, and unspoken understanding. This is not a story about sadness. It is a story about connection. Jungkook and Taehyung didn't become close overnight. Their bond was shaped slowly, over years of shared experiences, from their trainee days to world tours, from laughter-filled practice rooms to quiet moments backstage when the noise finally faded. They grew up together in an industry that moves fast and demands even faster maturity. While the world watched them evolve as artists, they were also learning how to support each other as people. Jungkook, often described as thoughtful and observant, tends to notice details others might miss. Taehyung, expressive and emotionally open, has never hidden how deeply he feels things, whether joy, nostalgia, or gratitude. Their personalities are different, but they meet somewhere in the middle. That's where understanding lives stood on the surface. The day didn't seem special. There were no major announcements.
No dramatic build-up.
Just another day filled with schedules, conversations, and quiet moments in between. But Jungkook had been thinking. He had noticed how Taehyung had been reflecting more lately, talking about memories, growth, and how time seems to pass faster than expected. It wasn't sadness. It was something deeper, a kind of appreciation mixed with nostalgia. Jungkook didn't say much about it. He rarely does. Instead, he decided to express it the way he knew best, through a gift. The gift itself wasn't extravagant. It didn't come wrapped in layers of luxury or presented with dramatic words. In fact, someone unfamiliar with their story might have overlooked it entirely, but Jungkook knew what he was doing. Every detail, from the choice itself to the timing, was intentional. It was something that carried meaning, something that reflected shared memories and unspoken emotions. T.O. Jungkook. It was simple. T.O. Taehyung. It was everything. When Taehyung received the gift, his first reaction was a smile, a soft one. The kind that comes naturally when you're surprised but happy. But then something changed. He looked closer. As the meaning behind the gift settled in, his expression shifted. The smile faded slightly, replaced by a quiet stillness. His eyes lingered on the details, and suddenly, the room felt smaller. It wasn't about the present itself. It was about the thought behind it. Taehyung has always been someone who treasures memories. He remembers small moments, words spoken in passing, gestures that others might forget, feelings tied to specific times and places. The gift Jungkook gave him wasn't just something new. It was a reminder of where they started, a reminder of how far they've come, a reminder that someone had been paying attention all along. For someone who gives so much of himself to the world, being truly seen can feel overwhelming in the best way. Taehyung didn't cry immediately. There was a pause.
A breath.
A moment where he tried to keep his composure. But emotions don't always wait for permission. As he processed the meaning behind Jungkook's gift, his eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from gratitude. From feeling understood without needing to explain himself. Jungkook didn't rush him. He didn't try to make a big deal out of it. He simply stayed there. Sometimes, that's the greatest comfort of all. Jungkook has never been someone who expresses affection loudly. His support often comes in subtle ways, small gestures, quiet actions, moments that don't demand attention. This gift was exactly that. It wasn't meant to impress anyone else. It wasn't meant for the cameras. It was meant for Taehyung. And that's why it mattered so much. When fans later learned about the moment, reactions poured in. Not out of shock, but recognition. Many saw themselves in Taehyung's response. Who hasn't felt overwhelmed by a simple gesture that arrived at exactly the right time? Who hasn't been moved by the realization that someone understands them more deeply than they realized? The moment resonated because it was human. In the end, what made Taehyung cry wasn't the gift. It was the care behind it. the history within it, the silent message it carried. I know you. I see you. I'm here. And sometimes that's all anyone needs. There is a kind of closeness that only forms when two people grow together, not just working side by side, but learning who they are while the other person is there to witness it. Jungkook and Taehyung share that kind of bond, one shaped by years of change, pressure, laughter, and quiet resilience. T.O. understand why the gift affected Taehyung so deeply. It helps to look back, not at one specific moment, but at the many small moments that came before it. From their early days, nothing about their journey was easy. They trained relentlessly, adjusted to expectations far beyond their age, and learned how to balance personal identity with public responsibility. In an environment that rarely slows down, emotional awareness often takes a back seat. Yet somehow, they noticed each other. Jungkook saw Taehyung's creativity, how he found beauty in unexpected places, how music and art weren't just performance, but expression. Taehyung saw Jungkook's dedication, the quiet discipline, the constant effort to improve, the pressure he carried without complaint. They didn't always talk about these things. They didn't need to. Not everyone expresses care through words. For Jungkook, care has often shown up through actions. A small check-in, staying nearby, remembering details that others forget. Over time, Taehyung came to recognize this language. When Jungkook handed him the gift, Taehyung didn't just see an object. He saw evidence of years of silent understanding, proof that his emotions, his memories, and his growth had never gone unnoticed. That realization can be overwhelming. In a world filled with excess, simplicity stands out. Taehyung has always been someone who appreciates meaning over appearance. He values authenticity, moments that feel real rather than staged. The gift reflected that perfectly. IT wasn't chosen to impress, IT wasn't meant to perform, IT was chosen because it fit him. And when someone gives you something that feels like it understands who you are, it touches something deeper than words ever could. Taehyung tried to smile through it for a moment. He laughed softly, a natural response, almost reflexive. But emotions don't always stay where we put them. The longer he looked at the gift, the harder it became to hold everything inside. His eyes lingered, his expression softened, and then the tears came. They weren't loud. They weren't dramatic. They were quiet, sincere, and deeply personal. The kind of tears that arrive when gratitude becomes too heavy to carry alone. Jungkook didn't rush forward. He didn't panic. He didn't try to change the moment. He simply stayed. There was no need to explain himself. The gift had already said everything he wanted to say. His calm presence was a silent reassurance. Take your time. It's okay to feel this. Sometimes, the strongest support is letting someone experience their emotions without interruption. In an industry that demands composure, moments like this are rare. Being able to feel openly, without fear of judgment, requires trust. Taehyung trusted Jungkook enough to let his guard down, even briefly. That trust doesn't come from a single action, it comes from consistency, from knowing that the person in front of you has been steady through successes, struggles, and everything in between. When fans learned about the moment, many didn't focus on what the gift was. They focused on how it felt. People shared their own stories, of small gifts that meant more than expected, of friends who understood them without needing explanations, of moments when gratitude turned into tears. That's why the story resonated so strongly. IT wasn't about celebrity. IT was about humanity. Labels have limits. What Jungkook and Taehyung share goes beyond simple definitions. It's a connection built on respect, patience, and mutual growth. The gift symbolized all of that. IT carried the weight of shared history, late nights, early mornings, unspoken encouragement, and countless moments that never made headlines. Taehyung, receiving that gift felt like someone holding up a mirror and saying, "Your journey matters." After the tears, there was calm. A quiet kind of understanding settled between them. No explanations needed, no grand statements required. Just a shared awareness that the moment would stay with them long after it passed. Some memories don't need to be loud to last forever. Long after the gift was given, the impact remained, not because of what happened outwardly, but because of what changed internally. Moments like these remind people, fans included, that sincerity still exists, even in fast-moving worlds. They remind us that kindness doesn't have to be big to be meaningful. Sometimes, It just has to be real. Sometimes, a single moment quietly changes the way someone sees the world, not in a dramatic, life-altering way, but gently, like a small adjustment of the heart. For Taehyung, receiving Jungkook's gift became one of those moments. After the emotions settled and the tears dried, something lingered. A warmth. A sense of reassurance that stayed with him long after the moment passed. When people cry from gratitude, they often feel a strange mix of emotions afterward. Relief, calm, a deeper sense of clarity. Taehyung felt all of it. The gift reminded him that even during busy schedules and constant movement, there were people who truly noticed him, not just as an artist, but as a person navigating growth, memory, and change. That realization quietly reshaped his perspective point. One of the hardest things about growing up in the public eye is the feeling of being constantly observed, yet rarely fully understood. Taehyung has spoken before about valuing authenticity, about wanting moments that feel genuine rather than performative. Jungkook's gift embodied that authenticity. It said something powerful without using words. You don't have to explain yourself to me. That kind of understanding creates safety, and safety allows people to breathe. Life often moves faster than emotions can keep up with. Schedules overlap. Time passes quickly. Moments blur together. The gift became a pause button for Taehyung, a reminder to slow down and appreciate what truly matters. Not achievements or milestones, but the connections formed along the way. Sometimes, it takes a small gesture to bring everything back into focus. Taehyung realized something important in that moment. He hadn't walked his journey alone. Every step forward, every challenge faced, had been witnessed by someone who cared deeply. Jungkook's gift symbolized shared growth, not individual success. It was a quiet acknowledgement of years spent side by side, evolving together. That realization carries weight. Timing matters. If the gift had been given earlier, it might have been appreciated, but not felt as deeply. If it had come later, the moment might have passed. It arrived exactly when Taehyung needed it. A time of reflection. A time of emotional awareness. A time when small reassurances meant more than big gestures. That alignment made everything feel intentional, even if Jungkook never said so. Afterward, Taehyung became more aware of the subtle ways people show care. Not everyone expresses affection through words or grand actions. Some do it through consistency, presence, and thoughtful gestures, just like Jungkook had. That understanding deepened Taehyung's appreciation for quiet support, the kind that doesn't ask for recognition but leaves a lasting impact. Crying in front of someone is an act of trust. Taehyung's tears weren't a sign of weakness. They were a reflection of emotional honesty. Allowing himself to feel openly, even briefly, was an affirmation of strength. Did I end that moment? Vulnerability became connection, and connection became comfort. Long after the gift was placed aside, the memory stayed with Taehyung, not as something heavy, but as something grounding. A reminder that sincerity still exists in simple forms, and that meaningful relationships don't need constant validation to remain strong. Some moments don't fade. They settle quietly into the heart and stay there. For fans, this part of the story resonates deeply. It reflects something universal, the power of being understood without explanation, the comfort of small gestures, the emotion tied to shared history. That's why this moment continues to be remembered, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Some stories don't fade with time. They don't rely on drama, controversy, or spectacle to stay alive. Instead, they remain because they carry something quietly universal, a truth people recognize long after the moment has passed. This story is one of those. At first glance, it was just a simple exchange, a gift, a reaction, a brief emotional pause. But what made it unforgettable was everything beneath the surface: the shared history, the mutual understanding, and the years of unspoken support that led to that single moment. It wasn't created to be remembered. It became memorable because it was real. As time passes, flashy moments blur together, but meaningful ones gain clarity. The more people reflect on Jungkook's simple gift and Taehyung's emotional response, the clearer its meaning becomes. It stands as a reminder that connection doesn't weaken with time, it deepens. Years of shared growth don't disappear, they settle, As time passes, flashy moments blur together, but meaningful ones gain clarity. The more people reflect on Jungkook's simple gift and Taehyung's emotional response, the clearer its meaning becomes. It stands as a reminder that connection doesn't weaken with time, it deepens. Years of shared growth don't disappear. They settled. At its core, this is a story about being seen, not in the way the world sees performers, but in the way one person sees another. With